Hey guys, welcome back to another video on my channel. Today, we're going to be ranking everything inside of Minecraft at 1.21.6, because Minecraft have now confirmed that this update is complete, apart from some bug fixes and small minor changes. So I have all the features this update includes right here. I don't think I'm missing any. I've gone through the patch notes and it's the main features. Now, one thing to quickly note, I'm not going to be ranking any of the technical changes, just because technical changes are a bit all over the place, and there are a lot more technical changes than there are normal features, so we'll be here for quite some time. Let's first off start with some of the changes rather than new features. So I now have myself a tamed horse. Now this new feature is the fact that you can click shears on any mob that has a saddle, horse armor, harness or carpet on, and it'll basically remove it. Now if it has two, for example this horse has horse armor and a saddle, it'll prioritize the armor then the saddle. Now this is quite a good feature. It's not that useful on horses because obviously they have a GUI that you can open and see. It's more useful on pigs because before there was no way to remove a saddle from a pig. Now you can just click them with shears and you can see the saddle has popped off. And this is also good for striders. So if I was once again to have a strider with a saddle, I can then remove this saddle at any point just by clicking shears on them. Now there are also two ways that the saddle won't be removed, and that is if I am crouching. So if I was to crouch and click, you can see it is not shearing it. And also if the mob I'm trying to shear has a passenger on them. So if the strider had a player or zombie pigman, the saddle wouldn't be able to be removed. Once again, it's useless on horses, llamas, camels and things like that because they have a GUI to remove them. But for pigs and striders, this is a really good feature, and I think it's going to go in B tier. Now let's cover the cloud changes. Now I'm covering this one because I really want to talk about this, and a lot of people didn't like this change. And that is the fact that clouds now render basically to the end of your render distance. Now I'm pretty sure this was a bedrock feature that made its way into Java, but this also does come with some new video settings. And at the bottom you can see you can have a cloud distance, so if you don't like the new feature, you can always make the cloud distance a lot smaller. For example, having it around 27 is what it used to look like before this update. But honestly, I like that this has been changed because having clouds just around the player don't really make sense. And having clouds that just go until the end of what you can see is more like real life, which I like a lot more. But I'd also like that the option is there for you to toggle it if you would like. So I think this is going to be a C tier. Now, the next change is with splash potions. Minecraft changed how the effect is granted, depending on the potion hitbox to the player's hitbox. Before, you'd have to throw the potion straight up to hit your head for it to be granted the full effect. For example, this splash potion right here is 8 minutes long. If I was to throw it straight up, I get the full 8 minutes because it hits my hitbox. But now it depends on the potion's hitbox to my hitbox. So if I was to throw it at my feet, you can see once again I get the full 8 minutes. If I was to throw it slightly further away, you can see I only get 5, and that keeps going until the effect reaches 0 minutes. This is also really good because if you have a multiplayer server where a lot of players group up to use potions, you can now throw it at the bottom of all their feet, and they should roughly be granted the same amount of time. I really do like this change because it makes potions a bit more consistent, and newer players can now understand them a lot easier than having to throw them up at your head to get the full effect. So I'm going to say this is a B tier. Now let's cover some of the new features in this update. Let's first off cover the happy ghast and the dried ghast. Now let's do the dried ghast first. The dried ghast is a new block that you can find at the nether fossils inside of Soul Sand Valleys. It can also be crafted like so, and you can also get it from bartering with piglings. So there is 3 ways to obtain this. There's no way to use the block as decoration really because it only has this one state. If you was to place it inside of water and get it to its next state, it will eventually dry out again if you take it out of water. And if you was to break it when it had aged up, it will once again revert back anyway. So decoration is very limiting on this, and it really only has the one use. You can use it for decoration in this state, but as for building uses, I can't really think of that many. So I think this is going to deserve I don't think it deserves a C tier because it's better than the cloud changes. I would say B tier. I don't think it deserves any higher than that. Now let's talk about the Happy Ghast, because the Happy Ghast is a new mob that is spawned from this block. So when this block is placed in water, it will slowly hydrate over about 20 minutes. One thing though, it does have some really cool sound effect it plays, so that is another cool thing about this block. It's just a shame we can't use them sound effects, because once again, once it hydrates, the sounds go, because obviously it turns into an entity. Just like so. Now this ghastling will just follow random mobs that are adults and also passive. It will also randomly follow players. Now you can speed up the growth with snowballs, but it will also age up into a happy ghast after 20 minutes like every other baby mob. Now one quick note while I'm speeding up the growth, I am not ranking the ghastling just because it's a baby version of the happy ghast. Although it does use a slightly different model, it's not that different that it deserves a ranking. This is the Happy Ghast. The Happy Ghast is a happy version of the Ghast. Now along with this, we're obviously going to be ranking the harnesses because they kind of coincide with the Happy Ghast. Now the Happy Ghast will come to you if you are holding a harness, but they can't have a harness equipped. So if this Happy Ghast had a harness equipped, it wouldn't be tempted by harnesses, it would only be tempted by snowballs. Let's now equip this on and click on this, not with the shears, with my hand. I then start riding the Happy Ghast, and my POV is zoomed out slightly. Now Happy Ghasts can have up to 4 people on them, 1 rider, and then 3 passengers. Now only the passenger, the first player who jumps on, can control the Happy Ghast, which obviously in this case would be me. Now what is so good about the Happy Ghast? Well, the useful feature here is you can crouch to get off of them, and the Happy Ghast will stop moving and turn into kind of like a solid block. So I can now build up in this area if I would like, and I can also crouch to the very edge without falling off. Now another thing, when you are riding them, their goggles will go down over their eyes. And Happy Ghasts also have a home position. This home position is normally where they age up from a ghastling, or where you interact with them with a harness. And this home position is a place they can't go too far away from. They normally linger about 32 to 64 blocks from it, and they also will stay close to the ground when they are hovering around. So this means that they are basically easy to tempt back if you need to. So if I was just to move a bit closer and hold snowballs, you can see it comes back to me without the need to chase it with elytra or build or anything like that. Now, as for the Happy Ghast, I think it's a really cool feature. It's obviously going to be game changing for building, and also it's a really cute mob. The sound effects are really cool. Now it does have another use, but that kind of coincides with another feature we're going to cover in a second. So the Happy Ghast, I think, is going to go A tier. Now the harness comes in all 16 colors that most things come in inside of the game. And I have some thoughts about this. Now the harness I think is a bit of a pointless item because it's only used on the Happy Ghast, and apart from that it doesn't really have any other uses. The item icon is a bit squished, so it's not really that useful for decoration. I would say the harness could have been a saddle or something like that rather than a whole new item. Although I do like that it's got its own custom model on the Happy Ghast. So as for the harness, I think it's going to go in C tier, just because it's not that useful if you are not using Happy Ghast. And once again, the crafting recipe for the harness is like so. The wall in the middle depends on what color you get. So let's now quickly just mark off what we have ranked on here. So next, let's do the Ghast texture. And this is just a texture update. The Ghast has had a texture update to make it more fit with the Happy Ghast. And honestly, it's not that noticeable if you didn't look at every pixel. I know a lot of people don't like the new Ghast texture because obviously it's a mixture of the Minecraft size and also the old Ghast size. I think it's okay. Once again, it's not anything game changing, so I think it deserves a C. I don't think it's bad enough that it can go in D tier. Now let's talk about the leads, because this comes with the other use for the Happy Ghast. But this also has its own use, and this is the fact that you can now lead mobs together. So for example, if I had 2 pigs, I can click on one of the pigs and I can crouch and click on another one, and them 2 pigs are now connected. The second one that I clicked on will be the leading pig. So this pig will basically now tell this pig where to go. And this can be done over and over again. So then if I wanted to connect this pig over here, so let's quickly just click on this one to this one, we can now do that. And I can keep going with this. So this one to this one, and then this one to this one. And then let's just now connect this one to this one. So now they are stuck because they are obviously tied together. But once again, you can use this for so many different purposes, not only pigs. Every single mob that can be leashed before this update can now have leads connected to them. Now this does also work with boats, so I can lead a load of boats together. This does also work for chest boats, but I can then lead that boat to that boat, that boat to that boat, and then I can jump in this boat, and you can see the 3 boats are following me. These can also have mobs inside of them. It doesn't change how they work. I can then obviously lead mobs to this happy ghast like I could with the pig, but there is a difference. If the mob is of a certain size, so boats, sniffers, horses, they have a special connection to the happy ghast, and that is they connect by all 4 corners, which you can see. It does also give the happy ghast a custom texture over the harness, which you can see as leads dropping down. Now that boat can have mobs inside. It cannot have players, otherwise it will break. Now the next thing that I'm going to say here is that you can connect more than one. So if I wanted to connect another boat, as you can see, we now have 2 boats. But once again, this can be done with horses as well. So if I wanted to attach a horse to this happy ghast, then I can also do that. So let's quickly just crouch and click. And there we go, the horse is now connected by all 4 leads as well. This is such a cool feature, and I think it deserves S tier. I would say I don't think there's any improvements that could be made to this. I know people are going to say they could make it so you can lead 2 fences together, because that's currently not possible. Actually, I think we're going to pull it to A tier, just because once again it can be better, and if it was better then it'd be S. But A tier I think is a good judgment, because it's a really cool feature. Now before we jump to the music disc, which is one of the best features in this update, let's quickly just talk about the compass. And this compass represents the locator bar. This isn't really going to mean anything for players who play in single player. I can show this off with commands. So if I was to quickly just target this armor stand, I can give this armor stand a waypoint transmission attribute. So let's quickly just do that of 80. And you can see now my XP bar has changed. It is now showing this dot. Now, by default, when you load up multiplayer, every single player on a world will have one of these dots, basically telling you where they are within the world. Now, there are ways to remove this with invisibility potions, by crouching, by wearing pumpkins and mob heads, and it does also work with armor stands. So if I was to quickly just put a mob head on this, so for example a dragon head, you can see the locator bar is now gone because the armor stand is disguised. So this is basically what the locator bar is. It basically is kind of like modded waypoint maps, but without the whole map. It is just a dot on your XP bar, basically telling you where players roughly are within the world. The function is once again only for multiplayer. There is no entity apart from players inside the game that give off a waypoint by default. Tamed animals don't, for example the happy ghasts don't. It is literally only players. Now one thing I do like about this is the waypoints are customizable with the modify. So you can modify any player's style or color just with a command. And styles are also data driven, meaning that you can add your own custom textures through resource packs. So that does boost it up a little bit. I don't like that it takes up the XP bar. Now some players do like this, I personally don't. It just feels like it was unneeded and they could have had its own bar above the XP bar. It could have been its own bar above the top of the screen. It could have been something totally different. So I think this deserves a D tier. And that is just purely because, once again, this is not going to be useful in single player at all unless you download data packs that changes how it works. And once again, if there was more customizable options, it would also be boosted up. Now, the final feature we are going to rank is the music disc. Now, there is a new music disc in this update as well, and this is called Tears. If I quickly just play it, I'm sure a lot of you have heard it by now, but if you haven't, it would have been in the background of this whole video, because, not gonna lie, it's one of the best songs that they have made. Now, how is this music disc obtained? Well, it's obtained from a normal ghast, but you obtain it from hitting a ghast fireball back, the same way you get the return to sender achievement. You'll get it every single time you hit a fireball back at a normal ghast. So once again, if I was to spawn another one, and I was to now heal it back, You can see I didn't get the achievement that time because I already own it, and I got another music disc. Now, honestly, this music disc deserves S tier. I think it's going to be the only thing in S tier, but it definitely does deserve that. I love the sound of it. It obviously has a lot of lore for people who care about lore with the ghast sounds mixed into it. But anyway, that is it for the ranking of this update. The update adds a lot of cool things, a lot of game-changing things, and once again, like every update, there could be quite a lot of improvements. But I'm pretty happy with the final rankings of this board. Once again, if you have anything that you would change, do let me know in the comments because I am very interested. But anyway, if you enjoyed, do like and subscribe. I can't wait to see what the third drop of 2025 has in store for us. But anyway, I'll see you guys in another one very soon. Bye.